This is the pike up. So Patrice, for the pike up, you're going to start with your feet on your 6 o'clock block. Great, and your hands in a push-up position, so your hands are right underneath your shoulders. This is your beginning point. With the pike up, your toes are going to start to slide in towards your wrists, and we're going to stop you about right there. Excellent. And now you're going to slide back out. You're going to hit that block, and now you're going to let those hips sink. Good. And we don't want you to sink so much that you're feeling this in your lower back, but we want your hips to start extending. We want your core to be working. We want that motion to be controlled. And now you're going to pull those feet back up. Good, and then back down and hit that 6 o'clock block and let that sink just a little bit. That's excellent. Great, up and down and sink. Good. And what we're going to do to make this exercise a little bit easier is we're going to let Patrice leave her feet right on that block. So she's going to use that block for securing herself, and she's just going to go hips up and hips down. And still trying to get that lengthen at the bottom to really strengthen those abs. Great. And then if we want to make this exercise a little bit harder, she's going to slide those feet in and out, and she's going to just do the motion a little bit faster. Great. With a little bit of hip drop. Good, but still really making sure that she's controlling that downward motion and controlling those abs and getting that lengthen to strengthen going on. Great job, Patrice. Rest. Opposite elbow, opposite knee slide. Here we go, Patrice. So you're going to start by sliding from that your 9 to 3 block. You're going to raise your trail 3 to 9.
Let's keep going.
This is your opposite. What is this? This is the opposite elbow, opposite knee lateral slide. Patrice is going to start at her 3 o'clock block. She's going to go from 3 to 9. She's going to raise that trail leg up and across to that opposite elbow. Go ahead. Why don't you do that a couple times? Excellent. This exercise is also great for her abs. She's trying to lengthen here at the hip. Pull that knee up and across and really crank for some maximal abdominal loading. She's also getting some great balance control here. We're going to modify this exercise for her to make it a little bit easier. This time when you slide, can you just raise your knee a little bit and tap that opposite? There we go. Excellent. So we're still working on ab control and balance, but it's just a little bit of an easier exercise for your clients. And then, of course, if we want to make it harder, the easiest thing to do is just to add weights to her hands. Excellent job, Patrice. Nice work. The wide mountain climber. So Patrice, I'd like you to start with your feet on 5 and 7 and in that push-up position again. Excellent. And from here, what you're going to do is you're going to pull your right knee up. Good. And then back out to that 5. And then your left knee. Great. And now I would like you to just add a little pace to it. Good. And what's super important that's happening here for Patrice is each time she's getting extension in this hip so that she's really getting those abs engaged. This is the exercise. The modification would be to go slowly, so 1 foot at a time, and keeping 1 foot stationary on that back block. And so that you have the chance to pause here, rest, get this hip dip, come back up slowly. Good. Pause, get the other hip dip. Exactly. That's a great job. Good. And then hard is just that faster version of what you were doing in the beginning. Great. Just switch, switch, switch. Make sure you drop that hip, hit those blocks. You need to make sure that you're hitting those blocks in order to feel really secure in the back and to get that maximal hip extension and ab lengthening. As a 3X slide instructor, this is something that you may see some of your clients do. Earlier, I used the phrase hip dip. That's what we need to have happening here. Right now, Patrice is not getting the maximal load to explode going on here. So we want her to really lower that hip. Good. Lower that hip as she goes. Sink into it each time. Exactly. So that she can get that really lengthen to strengthen in her front in the core. Great job, Patrice. Now we have the slide with arms overhead. Patrice is going to slide from her 3 to her 9 o'clock block. She's going to go in this nice extended position. Go ahead, Patrice, and slide. And see how nice and long and lean she is here. This is going to incorporate again her balance, her inner thighs. She's using just all of her lower body muscles and incorporating her core to stay like this. If your clients aren't quite as comfortable staying up that tall, then we're just going to have you sink a little bit more into your athletic stance, and you can keep your arms a little bit lower. Excellent. We're still getting all the incredible effects of the slide, but it's not quite as hard when you're like that. And then if we want to modify and make it a little bit harder for you, then you're going to really extend up nice and tall, hold those weights up overhead, and now go. Good. Can you feel that core really engaged at this point?
I can feel it, definitely.
Good work. Good job. The next exercise is the 9 and 3 reach through. So Patrice is going to get back in that position where she's in her push-up position with her feet securely on that 6 o'clock block. She's going to take her right leg and reach through to that 9 o'clock block. And as she does that, we're going to see that her hips rotate, and she's going to dip that hip again to the ground, getting a ton of extension in this left hip and core and oblique engagement. Good, Patrice, you can come on out of that. Oops, sorry. And now go to the other side. Same thing. Excellent. Great. So she is getting oblique turn on. She is getting maximal hip lengthening in the front. Great job, Patrice. The modification for this exercise is going to be to do that same reach through, Patrice, but you may not be able to dip that hip as low or to rotate as much. So we just may stay up a little bit higher. Good, and now switch feet. Good, stay up, excellent. And then to make it harder, you're just gonna reach a little lower and you're gonna go a little faster. Woohoo, great job, nice work. Star slides. There we go. So Patrice is going to look like a big, nice open star at the top of this exercise. Her hips are coming forward. Again, this is going to force her to use her core to engage. She's getting a nice amount of motion in the front of these hips, getting a good stretch, arms up high, good. And then when she comes back in, it's going to be super important for Patrice to really pull those legs together and not jump it, right? So why don't you show us what it looks like if you do a jump. You may see a little bit of a, there we go, yep. And we're just trying to avoid that. We're trying to really make those inner thighs work hard.
A lot harder.
Exactly, that is hard. So the modification for this exercise is really just to bump one of these blocks in. So I'm going to slide this in for you so the distance doesn't become quite as far. Good, same thing. Excellent. At the top, get that nice extension. Good. And pull them in. Great job. All right, stop for a second, and then I'm going to pull this back out. And then if we're going to make this a little bit trickier for you, we're going to add weights to your hands, which is really going to force that abdominal load and engage. Good. Again, one of the things I don't want to see is her low back working hard. The motion is coming from the front of her hips, working that core hard, and then sliding in. It gets hard to slide in when you have those weights, doesn't it?
It does.
Great. The soccer kick move. This is a good time to channel your inner Pele or your soccer mom. You're going to slide from 3 to 9, Patrice. You're going to reach out with that foot like you're reaching out to kick a soccer ball. Good. And then we're going to get a little side bend action going. Go ahead. Slide. Excellent. Excellent. So the way that we talk about this, we say slide, reach out to your 1, lean into the center of the board, bump that hip out. Good. So here Patrice is going to pause. We show that she's going to get this big left hip bump out. She's leaning towards the center of the board. She's reaching this foot out as far as she can. She's working on her balance. She's working on her core. Excellent. That's a great position. Good. Now slide to the other side. Same thing. Reach to 1. Bump that hip. Great. If you want to modify this exercise to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to have you just not reach quite as far out on that block. Great. Slide to this side. Good. Just barely toe touch that block in front of you so that you're not having to reach quite as far. It makes it a little bit easier, and you don't have to bend quite as much to the middle. That's great. I still want to make sure that you're getting that hip bump to the side though, so that we're getting that motion there.
All right.
Good work. Excellent. And then to make it harder, we're just going to increase the speed. So I really want you to reach out far now. Reach way out with that foot. Good. Side bend. extend into the center of the board. Exactly, and just pick up the pace. That is perfect. Great job. Look at that amount of balance and flexibility Patrice has going. Nice job. The burpee slide, everyone's favorite. All right, so Patrice, you are turned sideways, but we're gonna now say that this is your 12 o'clock block, okay? And so I'm gonna have you put your feet back on your 6 o'clock block. You're gonna get in your plank position. And the burpee is, you're gonna slide both feet up underneath you, good, and stand yourself right up, good, and slide back down, making sure that you use this block here at the back to really solidly put your feet on so that you can extend those hips, right? All right, and now back up and stand up, good, give me another one. Excellent, great job. All right, the modification for this, I'm gonna have you put one foot out at a time, really making sure that you still come into contact with that 6 o'clock block. So,
One at a time.
right, one at a time. One, good, two, and then in, and now stand up. Great job, and back down, and out, drop that hip, and up, excellent. All right, and then to make this exercise just one step harder, I'm gonna ask you to add weights. Great job. Weights down, both feet out, hit that block, slide in and stand up. Great job. Weights down, slide feet out, hip drop, and back up. This hip drop is such a key element to so many of our exercises because it really forces you to engage those abs into that lengthen and strengthen. Great. This is the slide lunge, Patrice, and for this exercise, I'm gonna ask you to take that left booty off. Great job. Okay, so your left foot is gonna be stable on the board. I'm gonna have you slide into a lunge with your right leg. You're gonna slide to that 1, 3, and 5 block. Good, you're gonna hit your foot solidly up against it, just like that. Great. That hip comes down, you're sitting into that motion, you're keeping your big toe on the ground, and you're sliding. Good. That left leg is determining how hard this exercise is. So if we want to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to ask you to bring that left foot in a little bit so you don't have quite as far of a distance to slide. Great job. A little easier that way, right? You're not going quite as far.
Still a good challenge though.
Now I'm going to ask you to show me one of the things that we may see with some of your clients, where you're not hitting that block super squarely, and you're going to get that knee coming out, right? So this is something, a bit of motion that we really want not to have happen, which is why using the block and the stability here is such a key piece, because now this knee stays in and your hip can really come out towards me, which means you can load that glute, which is what we're really aiming to do. Great. That's such a better motion. Okay, now if we want to make this exercise harder, there's two ways we can do that. First, we can increase the distance. So I'm going to have you slide your left foot over a little bit, and now you're really going to reach into this. Great job. And then the other way we can make this harder is to add weights, right? Let's try a couple of those. Good job. And just bring those weights down now on either side of that knee. Great. And of course, we can always increase the speed to make it even harder. All right, good job. Same side reach, 11 to 1. So Patrice, I'm going to have you get back in that push-up position with your feet solidly on that 6 o'clock block. Excellent. Now I want you to take your left leg and reach that toe up towards that 11 o'clock block. Pause right there for a second. Again, this hip dip is so important. She's getting this hip dipping to the ground. What is she getting? She's getting motion in the front of this hip. She's getting her core engaged. She's getting a little bit of load in this butt and stretch over there. That's excellent. And now I'm going to have you switch. So switch. And now right foot to 1. Good. Left foot back to 11. Good, and every time she's getting that butt up, butt down motion, which is causing her abs to really engage, get that lengthen and strengthen. Excellent job. All right, Patrice, just rest for a second, and I'm gonna move in your 11 and 1 o'clock block. so that we can show the modification to this exercise is just not having to reach quite as far. All right, so back to your feet on 6. Good, left foot to 11. There we go, nice. Right foot to 1. Good work, nice job. Not quite as hard that way?
Not quite as hard.
All right, and now let's move them back out so that we can show the modification to make it harder. Is we're gonna do that same exercise, but of course you're just gonna move a little bit faster.
All right. Put some heat on it.
That's right, make sure those feet hit that 6 o'clock block, that's it. Great job, huge amount of hip dip, core strength and length. Nice work. Increasing that flexibility in your hips. Good work, take a rest.